local Utah author Sean O'Leary here again. Wanted to talk about another benefit of self-publishing. This one is called access to the niche market. And a niche market is a smaller group of people within a larger community. So the first thing I want to say is if you're going to a traditional publisher, their point of view is that they want to make money. They're not there to write an interesting story or tell a very off the main beaten path kind of story or a unique story. They're looking for something that is going to make them lots of money. That's what drives them. That's usually not what drives writers. It's certainly not what drives me. I want to tell the stories that are important to me, that I keep thinking about and I can't put down. So what are some of the niche markets that you might access? So certainly the LGBTQIA plus community is something that you might want to include. I just read a novel that I really enjoyed, and it had two characters who were both guys, and they became involved in a relationship, and it was a very small part of the story, but it was a wonderful part of the story, and I was really glad to see it in mainstream literature. Another community that you might be interested in is say you wanted to tell a story, and at least part of the story, if not the whole story, was going to take place on don't know what the appropriate things to say. I'm sure people will correct me if I say it wrong, but I would say that live on a reservation among the Native American nations. There's a TV show that we watched a few years ago called Res Dogs. Fabulous. I would love to see some more. I would love to read some books in that kind of area. I think that would be really a lot of fun. But that's an area that if you're interested in, you might want to write a story about that. And that's not, people in New York City don't know a lot about Indian reservations. And so a traditional publisher might not be terribly interested in your story because it's not going to, it may or may not appeal to a lot of people, but it's not going to be familiar to a lot of people. You might be interested in kind of poking fun at certain works of either literature or popular storytelling. For example, if you grew up watching certain TV shows, you might like to make fun of the fact that you're wearing a red shirt and the character wearing the red shirt just never made it out of the scene alive. That might not be something that a traditional publisher is going to be really interested in, but as an independent, as a writer who's publishing their own works, you can do those kind of things. There's also steampunk or goths. There's a lot of niche communities or niche areas that you might want to talk about. For example, in Dan Tesson, we talk about blacksmithing, and how many people are there who have gone out and taken a piece of metal and a hammer and made something on an anvil. That's not something that happens very often in our country, and so to put it in a book may or may not be appealing to certain people. But again, what you're getting down to is that as a writer publishing your own work, you maintain the ability to do what you want with that story. You're in control, and that's where you want to be.